Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Cinemaholics meeting 002. Today we're talking about The Girl on the Train and Birth of a Nation. My name is Ryan Gordon, and I am a cinemaholic.
Hi guys, my name is Spencer Henderson and I am also a cinemaholic.
So today, like I said, the first one that we're going to be talking about, the first movie, is The Girl on the Train. This movie is a book adaptation. If I'm not mistaken, the book was originally written in 2012, and it kind of blew up. It was a big sensation. Hold, here comes the adaptation to film, and I'm going to tell you, I did read the book and I really enjoyed the book. And I was so excited when I heard this was announced with Tate Taylor directing and with Emily Blunt starring and Luke Evans. I am a big fan of his, and this had nothing but potential going into it. And into thoughts in a second, I wanted to read the synopsis. A lot of people going into this movie were calling it the next Gone Girl. This was supposed to be this big action thriller, kept suspense throughout the whole thing, keeps you guessing, a good mystery. It's about a divorcee who becomes entangled in a missing persons investigation that promises to send shockwaves throughout her life. That is a very spoiler-free synopsis, but some spoilers here. So my overall thoughts on The Girl on the Train is it was actually a decent adaptation from the book in the sense that it hit the plot points. It went from the beginning to the end, and there wasn't much left out of it that wasn't necessary. They did a good adaptation. That being said, it's called an adaptation for a reason, because something that's told well in a novel format isn't always told well in a story format. And the novel works very well because you're inside their heads, and narration work well in movies. And that was the first thing that I noticed that stood out to me as a con movie is the narration was boring. It was underwhelming, and I wish they would have shown to show and convey that information cinematically instead of me just sitting and watching pictures and listening to her tell me the story. I would have just listened to the audiobook if I wanted to experience that. Tate Taylor, like I said, he directed this. He is a phenomenal director. He did movies like The Help. Spencer, what are some other movies?
Um,
Now
I
that the
was gonna
spotlight's
say
on.
The Help as well. That's the one I could think of off the top of my head. He's not
See,
really
I'm
somebody
pulling
I
it up right
follow too
now.
much. Okay, yeah. What were your thoughts on The Help overall while we wait?
Really enjoyed The Help. Let's see. So I got it pulled up right here. He did Grace and Frankie, which was a TV show. Get On Up, which was a 2014 release.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty Ugly People, and Chicken Party. Seen Get On Up, The Help, and now The Girl on the Train. The Help had me anticipating this movie. He did that movie so well. This is like everyone's saying, the Gone Girl kind of format with playing with timelines, going forward and back and forward and back. Suspense is his strong point. It it was all over the place, and normally you've got your first act, your second act, your third act. And your third act is the shortest. It's the wrap up, the revelation. Here's where we ended up. It got to that really early. The way things were revealed, I feel like there was still left in the film, and I had already pieced it together. Granted, I had read the book, so I want to hear your thoughts on that. But I was like, anyone sitting right next to me has probably pieced this all together. They know the ending. They know, oh, he done it, happen. So those are kind of my thoughts. I want to hear from you now. What did you think, Spencer?
I did not like this movie at all. I want to start off by saying that. I think that The Girl on the Train is one of the biggest disappointments of the year so far. I am a huge fan of Emily Blunt. Look, I'm like the first guy to say go see Emily Blunt in this new movie. Sicario, one of my favorite movies like of last year. She did amazing in that. The fact that she was not nominated for Best Actress for that movie, I think, is one of the biggest snubs of last year. And yeah, Edge of Tomorrow. Emily Blunt's a really, really talented actress who is really coming into her own as an actress, I think. So I was excited for this. I also enjoyed The Help. I didn't love The Help, but I enjoyed it. And I also liked Get On Up. I did not know he directed that before going and seeing this. I will say I thought the first 3 minutes of this movie were good, and then basically everything went downhill. I will say from the opening scene of the movie, Emily Blunt's performance like starts at a 10 and just continues to climb. She really was too good for this movie, in my opinion, especially because I think the worst aspect of this movie, in my opinion, is Taylor's direction. I think that it is a mess from beginning to end. It is so clumsy. The pacing of this movie, I don't know if this is how the book was paced, but I found it to be just very, very confusing. It had no structure whatsoever, I didn't feel like. And I also think that lots of the kind of ways they set up Emily Blunt's character were very heavy-handed. So, for example, kind of slight spoilers for the movie or whatever, but it's been out for a couple days. And if you're a big fan, you probably saw it already. So we start off, and basically in the first minutes of the movie, we know that Emily Blunt is an alcoholic, right? And we see in her purse, when that lady with her baby sat next to her, that inside her purse, there's a vodka bottle, like, okay? And it shows the water bottle. So that establishes right there that we know that she's an alcoholic. That's all we needed to see to make, you know, Emily Blunt's performance is strong enough that we could have known as an audience that she was an alcoholic just from that information alone. But no, Taylor must think we're some kind of idiot, because he beats us over the head for like the next hour with just the most cliche and just boring type of, I don't know, the imagery of Emily Blunt's alcoholism and kind of just exposition on that I don't think we needed. I think we were smart enough to realize it. And this movie feels so long as a result. And I really think that cutting some of that down could have helped it. I do think there's one effective scene in this movie, and it's the big death scene in the movie. I thought that scene was really well directed. It's almost like he put all his effort into that, which I don't know whether to be disturbed or what by the fact that he put all his effort into the death scene. It was no Neil Patrick Harris death scene in Gone Girl. And the fact that this movie is even in the same conversation as Gone Girl, I think is just totally messed up. This is not even in the same ballpark as Gone Girl. Gone Girl is a way better movie. And I really think the ending kind of just justified her alcoholism, because it kind of just said, hey, yeah, you were an alcoholic still, but he lied about everything you did. You weren't a jerk when you were drinking alcohol. And I was kind of like, I don't know what to think about this. Is this like saying it's okay that she was an alcoholic? I don't know. What are your thoughts on this? I am really confused.
I agree full-heartedly with you that, you know, it's just beating us over the head over and over and over again. Even could see what he was going for when she is in the bathroom and she's recording that video, and I could see that it wasn't just setting up that she was an alcoholic, and like 3 more times throughout the whole movie, and you're like, okay, I get it. And I totally agree with you that it's like you take this movie that could have Oscar potential, and she reads the script, or she probably read the book first, and she's like, this is something I want to get my hands on. I'm going to win my Oscar this year because I didn't get even nominated with Sicario last year. I'm going to go for it. I'm shooting for the fence. It's just kind of like, what? No. And it is, like you said, the book is a lot a lot better paced. It leads you through it. One thing leads to the next, and it keeps you guessing the whole time. Whereas this, it feels like they just took, okay, well, within the first 10 pages, this event happens, event in the movie. It didn't stick cohesively. It was, all right, and I didn't like, the book plays with time a lot more, back 8 months and then forward month in the past, and then back 6 months and then 4 months, and it shoots back and forth, whereas this went back 6 months, back 4 months, back 2 months. Surprise is what happens at the end. So meh, I agree with you, but she is so awesome. Just in the past, her in, I've been let down a lot, and it's kind of putting a sour taste in my mouth. Not necessarily for her, because she's been phenomenal. This, and what was the last one? The Snow White and the Huntsman. What was that garbage?
I didn't see that. I had no desire to see that.
You're not missing anything.
Yeah,
it wasn't any good.
Okay.
Write her an awesome script. Get her on it, and let's get her an Oscar, because she deserves it.
They already did.
Is going to be.
I was just gonna say they already wrote that movie, and it's called Sicario. So, but yeah, I don't know. I also think the big reveal in this movie was just meh, because when you think about it, a much superior film called Gone Girl. When you think about the plan that movie executes, it's just so much more ingenious than anything on this movie's mind. It's just the typical, the person you'd never expect at the end is the big person that, did it, and it all makes sense at the end. And I felt like it was just so average and cliche, and just nothing we hadn't seen before, completely and totally better. And yeah, just Emily Blunt deserves such a better movie, like we've already said several times.
So I agree with you. Gone Girl was my favorite movie of that year, and looking forward to it. I don't know why the conversations even started that this could be on par with Gone Girl, or even be mentioned in the same sentence. Very big disappointment, though. Blunt did bring something to it that did raise my score. I originally probably would have gone a lot lower than this, but Emily Blunt was so good. And what was her name? The girl from Seven, Haley Bennett. I loved her. I loved her in Magnificent Seven that I saw 2-3 weeks ago, whenever it came out. And this, I don't think she's done very much, so I'm looking forward to seeing her in a lot more. The acting was good, which I think is a strength to Tate Taylor. Spence is not his thing, so I'm going to give this a 4 out of 10, which, if we were going Rotten Tomatoes, would definitely be rotten, and I wouldn't suggest. Maybe catch this on an airplane if you're flying 6 hours and you have some time to kill, but I wouldn't go to the box office and pay to see this.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think that this movie is something that you can probably just completely skip, forget about, just rewatch Gone Girl. You'll be totally fine. The only thing positive to say, in my opinion, really, is Emily Blunt's performance and just that one effective scene. As I said in the movie, other than that, it was too long. It was just run-of-the-mill. And I mean, I guess it's serviceable if you enjoy that. If you read the book, I guess go see it. But I wouldn't recommend this to really anybody that I can think of off the top of my head. But yeah, disappointing. Emily Blunt is a way better actress and way better than this.
Awesome. So let's switch on. Let's move to Birth of a Nation.
Okay, so sure. So everybody, The Birth of a Nation. Is it Oscar season? That's the big question in the air this week. And the reason being because the grand jury prize of Sundance winner Nate Parker's The Birth of a Nation came out into theaters this week. Now, there's tons of controversy regarding Nate Parker as a person in the media currently. We aren't even going to touch on that because it doesn't matter. We're talking about the movie. We're not talking about Nate Parker as a person. We have no opinion on that. We are judging his movie basically just solely on the fact as a movie. I'm not going to bring anything up even about what is going on with him. I'm not interested in that. You have to separate the person from the artist. I think that with everybody. I think that with other people who are controversial figures, who are filmmakers who I enjoy the work of. And maybe it's the same with this. Is it? We'll find out. Let me first read the plot summary from IMDb. The Birth of a Nation, according to IMDb's plot summary, follows Nat Turner, a literate slave and preacher in the antebellum South who orchestrates an uprising. This is the directorial debut of Nate Parker, as I stated, won the Grand Jury Prize at Sundance Film Festival. And, well, what did I think of it, you ask? I greatly enjoyed this movie. I thought that this was something else. I didn't think it was quite as good as something like 12 Years a Slave. And you can see in some ways that this is a flawed movie. I do think because it is his directorial debut. I'm not expecting him to make, the greatest movie of all time. And I really think he made a good movie, guys. Now let me start off with the things I didn't really like about this movie, because they aren't too many things, actually. I found this movie to be a very effective experience. My gripes come mostly, once again, with the direction. There's some kind of symbolic imagery in this movie that did not really work for me at all. There was a couple shots in this that were symbolic that I thought did actually prove to be powerful in certain scenes, but overall the kind of symbolic imagery I did not like in this movie. And I thought the first 10 minutes of this were a little bit rough to get through. I could kind of see that the pacing of kind of the editing, I almost feel like felt a little bit clumsy to me. It didn't feel like it was taking its time enough with the story. It felt like it was just, we have to get through this part to get to the part where, Nat Turner is an adult. And I felt like if they would have taken their time just a little bit more with the beginning, they could have set up a lot more about Nat Turner's character later on with the things that happen. And now I'm going to get into what I like about this movie, which is most of the movie. Let's start with Nate Parker's performance. I think if this guy doesn't get nominated for an Oscar, it'll be the biggest snub of the year so far. I haven't seen all of the movies, so I can't say it would be the biggest snub. But I think that with all the controversy, there's a possibility he will not be nominated. And I think that would be a big shame, because I think he brings so much to this movie that really got to me. His performance, I thought, was just fantastic. He is so good with emotion. There were several scenes where it was just his face, like the expression on his face, and it just brought so much to the performance. I really think he did a good job in this movie. I also found the story to be a pretty effective story, because, most of the time we see these movies about slaves and it just shows them getting beaten and stuff. And in this one, we actually get to see some fighting back, which, man, I'd be getting in line with them if I was in this situation, because there's just some nasty stuff going on in this movie. And that's one of the other things. I think this movie's going to turn a lot of people off, because it's really not an uplifting movie, folks. It's really kind of violent, and it pits the two races against each other in a way that I think needed to be told. And it's an important part of history that I think is an important movie that people should go see. That being said, if people don't agree with his acts, because this man did kill men, women, and children, and it decided to not show the children, but in the book, The Confessions of Nat Turner, I hear that there's even a part where they talk about that he killed a baby in a crib. And that could have very well been fabricated at the time. You saw how the public kind of viewed Nat Turner as an individual. So that could have been something made up completely as well. So I'm not saying that I know this. I'm just saying that those are things that people have said. And I found the scenes in this like super, super effective. And I just really briefly want to say, I think this movie has one of the most effective movie endings of the year. I was completely and totally just like knocked flat by the last basically 5 minutes of this movie. I found the direction in that scene to be on par basically with the ending of Braveheart. I really, really found that ending just to be super, super powerful, fully connected with me. I really enjoyed Birth of a Nation. It did have minor flaws, but overall, I thought it was a very, very strong directorial debut from Nate Parker. What did you think of it, Ryan?
I saw it today, actually, so it's fresh in my mind, and what anyone thinks. I mean, people are talking about, controversy aside, for the controversy that this film covers is blowing. It reminded me, walking out of the theater, movie was very similar to my experience when I went to see the Stanford Prison Experiment. And one thing that I really loved about both of those movies is that it highlights both sides, and it doesn't choose a side that it's partial to. You get to see, okay, here's this point of view, here's this point of view, and you walk out of the theater. I walked out of the theater instances, and I got to hear people talking both sides, saying that they agreed with this and they agreed with this. And this one, it is, like you said, it pits the races against each other. The story with Nat Parker, or with Nat Turner's character, and you feel for the slaves. You understand what they're going through. They're thick movie. It's brutal. There's one point where you see someone take a chisel hammer to someone's teeth and knock out the teeth individually, and I just felt sick to my stomach that do that to another human being. For the slaves, and I wanted them to revolt and to win. But then, like you said, it's the end, and you see the things that they had to do to retaliate. You hearing and women, and some of them may or may not have had a say in the matter, but they were white and they were murdered. The same thing was happening. It was just a bloody mess on both sides, and that's going to get people talking. So whether you enjoy the movie or not, it's bringing publicity, good and bad, to this controversial subject, which is now it's going on. I agree with you as well on both things. The direction, you could tell that it was probably lacking in some points because it was his first time directing. But if my first time directing a feature turns out this good, I could die happy. Like, I don't know how he pulled this off. I wasn't very familiar with Nate Parker anyways, and so it kind of just came out of nowhere. I heard all the buzz at Sundance when I was there this year, and I tried 2 separate times to get in, but the lines were out the door around the corner, and they could only let in half the line anyway because of the size of the auditoriums, and I got turned away both times. So this has been on my list, and it's been interesting to see the press go up and down on it because I've been so excited. But I think that in the end, it really paid off to me, and like you said, it did paid off in a big way, and any gripes that I did have were covered up by how extraordinary this movie is. And Nate Parker's performance, like you said, controversy, Oscars so white aside, this guy deserves to be nominated for an Oscar, and I will be astonished if he doesn't get the nomination. I mean, I'm still, I'm rattling on and on, but those are my overall thoughts. One shot that I did want to mention and get your opinion on, because you brought up like the symbolism in the shots and stuff. And one shot that really stood out to me was, there's one moment where he's holding the corn and the corn just starts bleeding
Bleeding, yeah.
off very well and impacted me. And that's when I got right. I was like, oh, okay, down. What were your thoughts on that?
Well, really, that was a huge turning point in the story for Nat Turner's character. That seems like it's the point where he fully commits to the idea that, hey, I'm going to revolt at this point. And, you know, the accumulation of all of these plantations that he had visited and seen all these horrible atrocities. And same with Armie Hammer's character, which I forgot to mention. Armie Hammer gives a very, very, like, kind of understated good performance in this movie that I think should be getting a little bit of attention as well. He actually does a pretty good job. I do think his kind of arc into becoming kind of like the nasty guy is a little bit too quick, and they should have taken their time just a little bit with that. But at the same time, he's also a character who had to go and witness all of these atrocities and see how other people handled, you know, their slaves, and it had an influence on him. He starts becoming more of an alcoholic when he sees more of this stuff. And I think lots of that led to the explosion of the conflict. But yeah, that image worked for me. There's also an image involving an angel that is shown a couple times in this that I thought worked pretty well. There was just one moment that shows, and I mean, I don't know how spoilery we want to get. How spoilery you think?
Let's just go for it. At this point, if people they're gonna have watched it, if not, then
okay, so
your fault. Stop the movie.
Okay, so, and yeah, I guess it's history as well. So people, you know what happened. It was a sad ending for Nat Turner. So at the ending of the movie, he goes to his wife, who tells him that basically they're killing people for no reason other than they're black, because of his uprising and what he caused. And so as a result, Nat Turner turns himself in, which I found to be a very kind of noble act as a person, especially after hearing that. I don't know if that's true. Obviously, that could be something that the filmmaker like influenced him. But as a movie, as I stated, everything aside, I'm looking at this as a movie. I thought that that was a very heroic act by the character at the end. And then the way people just started beating him, it was just like, holy cow, guys, like, this is sick. Take a step back and look at what you're doing. And then, yeah, like, I will admit, full on, no shame, there were some manly tearing up going on when he got lynched at the end of the movie. It was a horrible scene. I don't know if I'll be able to watch this movie again, to be honest, just because of how horrible people are. And how horrible history was to a lot of people, how unfair lots of people's lives were. I really found myself thinking that a lot in this movie, just like, man, there were people who literally, this was their entire life. Like, they lived in this. Like, man, it's just crazy. And I'm sitting here right now discussing a movie adaptation of this story. It's just like nuts, man. So, I don't know. Birth of a Nation, overall, I enjoyed it. What's your rating, Ryan?
Okay, so before I flip my rating on, I agree with you. I wanted to talk about the ending, the lynching scene. Man tears, I'll admit that, because I sat there and the normal lynching that you see in movies where they are standing on a platform, they have the noose tug platform, and you just, and I was expecting that the whole time. I was expecting for this to, oh, my light just flipped off. I was expecting for this big dramatic, they probably wouldn't even show it, just kind of a but they've got this big buff guy in a mask, hoists him up in the air slowly and painfully, and the camera just pans up with him and follows him and booms, and you're, as you see the air leaving his body, and powerful, and it knocked me off my socks. So I would rate The Birth of a Nation an 8 out of 10. Like you said, I don't know if I will go see this because it is so horrific and it brings out the worst of humanity. You see how dark people can get in this movie, and fluffy unicorn world, and I don't necessarily want to go see that again, but I would probably give it a higher score the next time I see it, because it is that good, and it's something that people need to see, all controversy aside. What are you thinking for a rating?
Yeah, I would say that I'd give this one an 8.5 out of 10, just slightly higher than you. Yeah, like you said, that scene at the end, watching his air leave his body, and Nate Parker's performance in that scene, and just throughout the whole movie, really, this really is an important movie that I think people should definitely check out and go support, despite the controversy, as you said. Get off your high horse, just go watch the movie. It's history. And you should not neglect that this happened at some point. And I really think it's our duty to watch these movies. So, yes.
Awesome. There you go, guys. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about, Spencer, before we wrap up?
I did not have anything else to add, no.
Awesome. Sweet. So thank you guys for watching. Those are the big releases, the wide releases this week, minus Middle School. I don't know if you even knew that movie came out. I didn't know it was coming out until like 3 days ago, but we missed that one. Maybe in the future we'll give you a review on that. But
I do not think that that's going to be happening. People, don't hold your breath on that one.
Okay, never mind. Go if you have any interest in seeing that movie, go see it. Our opinion doesn't matter anyways on that. Was very. You've got The Girl on the Train down here, and you've got The Birth of a Nation up here, in our opinions. Very, very flip-floppy on the releases this week. My name is Ryan Gordon. Like I said, I am a Cinemaholic. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Rye_Gordon. I occasionally will tweet stuff. I'm trying to learn how to use it, learn all those hashtags and stuff or whatever. Give me a follow. Teach me how to use Twitter. Spencer, where can they find you?
Yeah, same thing. You can find me on Twitter at SpinnyHand. My name is Spencer Henderson, and I am a Cinemaholic as well. And yeah, thank you all for watching. We hope you have a great night, and we'll see you later.